Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, I am aware of time, and I will focus on some key messages. I wanted to show you a few things. Also, you will see maps about how two of these tools that Maria presented, CLLD and ITIs, have been picked up by member states, what they have been doing, which parts of Europe, and so on, to give you a bit of a look back and to understand what's coming in the future. I see this is still the old version, but it doesn't matter. It's still pretty much the same content, with a tiny few changes. First one is CLLD, community-led local development. This is if you want, the translation of the LEADER methods. Some of you will be familiar with LEADER into well, also other parts of territories. There are urban CLLDs, but what we're looking at here is the CLLD in rural areas, and defined by the fact that they are using funds other than just the rural funds. Of these, we had 558 in 2014-20. I'll show you a map in a moment. And the key thing here is that they are combining different EU funding sources. There's the rural funds, and it's always combined with one or more of the cohesion policy funds, so ERDF or ESF or both. Typically, it's with ERDF and then the ESF added as well in some cases. So what this means that when we look at these CLD local action groups, they are all also leader groups. So almost all of them have also been leader groups in past program periods, but then they decided, or the authorities in charge of the wider framework decided that there will also be the use of cohesion policy funds in their budgets. It's important to note that while these are cohesion policy funded instruments, the dominant source from the local action group's perspective is typically still the rural fund. Depends though on countries, and the cohesion policy contribution to the local action group budgets can be quite significant. The highest shares we see here in the Czech case, where it's the by far dominant source, but also in Slovakia and in Bulgaria it was quite significant. Which means then, if you look at the local action group level, that the funding that on average, and these are averages, and averages have only limited meaning, are quite high. So on average, a Bulgarian local action group would have had 3.6 million budget over 7 years from cohesion policy funding and so on. Next slide, please. Here you can see a map. This is from the Strat board that Miriam has mentioned. I saw in the room is also Eleftherios Stavropoulos from the JRC. So this is a very useful source from 2014-20 to see where things were happening, and will be an update for this period. Every blue dot is a local action group. And we see that 11 member states made use of this. This wasn't compulsory. So there was a conscious decision to program the cohesion policy programs in such a way that CLLD can be used. In some cases, we had national-wide or national models. So there's the Czech model, there's the Portuguese, the Bulgarian, and so on. And in other cases, depending on how the governance of the funds is organized, we have a regionalized system where, for instance, in Austria, only Tyrol decided to make use of this tool, or only in Italy, only Puglia and Sicily decided to do so. Next slide, please. This is now the picture for looking ahead, or well, not so much ahead, looking at now, at 21-27, what things are expected to look like in terms of the use of CLLD. This is based on a survey and information from documents from the end of last year. So this is just showing that let's say the plans of member states. So this will change, likely to change. There might be more, there might be less. You can see that instead of 11 member states, we now have only likely 9 member states. But we're likely to see an increase of the number of local action groups. Not anymore 500 and something, but it's likely more, it'll be a bit more, depending a bit on how things are going. You see we have new entrants. Estonia decided to make use of cohesion policy funds through CLLD, and so did Romania. And in those with regionalized systems, we have, for instance, Poland, where previously we just had 2 regions. We now have 8 regions making use of this provision. And next slide, please. And now, after the CLD, I should have said that we will hear from one of the CLD local action groups in this session from Czechia, which, if you remember, is one of those countries with the highest relevance of the cohesion policy funds in relation to the rural funds. So the dominant funding source there is cohesion policy. But let's look at the ITIs, so integrated territorial investments. Formally, if you look at how it is phrased, there are no rural ITIs. There are urban ITIs and there are other ITIs. So not everything that is a non-urban ITI is really rural in practice. On the map, you can see, again, from the Strat board, you can see the ITIs, the rural ITIs in 2014-20, but these 128 are not all really what we are looking for in this discussion, because many of these still have an urban rationale. So they still either are actually urban and they are labeled as non-urban for regulatory technicalities, which I'm not going into. So the Lisbon ITI is a non-urban one, which in practice doesn't make any sense. But many other smaller ones are still urban. So the small Lithuanian ones, for instance, which are around relatively small towns, still follow the logic of an urban center, even if it's small and its surrounding area. Same in France and Brittany and in some of the Polish cases. Then we have others that are not really that rural because they're really defined by administrative regions. We have the Czech cases, which are the statistical regions, the Slovak cases, the statistical regions. We have provinces in Spain. So this is also not, and also that some of them quite large. And finally, we have some that are just really large in territorial and financial scope. The Danube Delta in Romania is indeed, this is a rural area, but it includes a major medium-sized city, and it has a budget of well over 1 billion euros. It's a completely different thing, so that's not something that maybe is that relevant. Or several of the Spanish cases with a multi-regional dealing with maritime issues and so on. So let's exclude these as well. If you then focus down, really the most relevant cases, also in terms of size and being really rural areas, mostly defined by their rurality, we can find in Greece, in Italy, and Portugal. And these are also the countries from which we now hear soon quick examples of what they actually have been doing. Next slide, please. Here you have the rural ITIs in those three countries. Not going into the details, but you see, well, there's a spread all over the countries. And quite a significant amount of funding, particularly in the Portuguese case. And you can see, maybe this is worth highlighting, that they use different EU funds. In Greece, it's still, so I'd say it's limited to just the cohesion policy funds. So they're formally in the budgets, ERDF, ESF. But in both Italy and Portugal, also the rural fund is used in combination with cohesion policy funds. So not only in the CLLD cases that I showed you earlier, it's a combination of rural and cohesion policy funding, but also ITIs offer this opportunity to combine the funds. And now, last slide. How does this link to the green transition theme? Just so to show you the relevance of this. This shows you the thematic orientation of rural ITIs in the past. This is a different system now in place for 21-27. Mirja showed you the policy objectives, and it's categorized in a different way. Here, these were so-called thematic objectives, but I highlighted those which have the greatest relevance for the green transition, just to show you that what happened in ITIs in the past program period is indeed relevant, and I would expect that similar topics will be addressed again. You can see that these are the numbers of strategies, for instance, addressing low carbon economy. So there's 97 of them. The number of strategies addressing environment, 88 of them. So some of these are those, let's say, the most popular topics. So indeed, there is a relevance of these tools for the topic of green transition. And that's my overview. Any questions? Happy to answer them.
I will give the floor to the 4 project examples. So we have the first example is Aristotelis Stagkikas from the agency of Epirus, the development agency from Epirus in Greece, who will present the example of an ITI in a non-urban area, followed by an example from Portugal, which is addressing environmental issues through an ITI by Aquiles Marreiros from the regional program Algarve 2030. Then we will listen to Marco Del Fiore, who is a PhD from the Politecnico di Torino in Italy, and we will also show the use of an ITI in rural areas in Piemonte. And then from the Czechia experience, it's the initiative of a multi-funded lab, which is launching, or which has launched green education financed by the cohesion policy by Markéta Dvořáková. Voilà, you have not more than 5 minutes each, so we can have about 10 minutes. So if it's less than 5 minutes, it's better, because after I would like to give the floor to Patricia, my colleague, who has collected elements around the questions that we have to cover in this session, and also to summarize what we have heard, we have already collected before, as I said at the beginning of the session, and what we collect from the framing interventions and from your experience. You, Aristotelis, I think you have no PowerPoint.
Yeah, no PowerPoint.
Okay.
Hello from Greece. I'm Aristotelis Stagkikas, and I work at the development agency of Epirus. Very briefly, the development agency of the region was founded 40 years ago, 1980. We have worked with, we are the local action group for the local CLLD leader strategy since the beginning of the initiative, 1991, when it started. And we also participate in many Interreg projects. We also have, we work as the management body of the local UNESCO Geopark. And lately, we also are assuming now the role of the regional destination management organization. So about the ITI that we implemented here in the region during the previous period, 2014-2020. For you that don't know, the region of Epirus is the northwest of Greece, near the borders with Albania, and this is basically a mountainous area with all the problems and the challenges that we have already heard: unemployment, depopulation, scarce low density, and so on. Also, of course, a relatively high percentage of very small enterprises, with all the difficulties that small enterprises have to find funding and to find skilled persons for the jobs, and also low synergies among sectors. So at the beginning of the previous period, there was the idea from a citizen association at the Azona to restore and to bring forth the ancient theaters that we have here in Epirus, the 5 ancient theaters, and to create a cultural route of the ancient theaters of Epirus. That is the name of our ITI strategy, the cultural route of the ancient theaters of Epirus. The idea, these 5 theaters are in the whole region, not in the urban areas. Only one is in a small town. Okay, so the rest is in the mountainous areas. And the idea was not only to restore these ancient theaters and to bring them to the center of life and to the community, but also to diversify the local tourism product, let's say, of the region, because basically one of the basic tourism is the classical sea, sand, sun model that we have in the Mediterranean, but also so that to create a cultural product, a new touristic cultural product, and not only that, to interlink it, to strengthen the connections between tourism, alternative tourism, and local products and agri-food. So that way also to try to strengthen the local economy and contribute to creating new jobs. so this idea was we used the new then tool of the ITI in order to try to make this work, and basically to use cultural heritage as the driver, the force for sustainable development throughout the area. I have 2 minutes left, right? So some of the challenges that we faced during the implementation weren't for the infrastructure works that were a high percentage for restoring the ancient theaters, because infrastructure works, the framework is we know the framework, and all the stakeholders do this kind of works. What our challenges were, our difficulties, was basically with coordinating the different level of administration, local municipalities, regional, and national authorities, and also to the other diverse stakeholders in the area. Of course, what I forgot to mention was 2 things that were in the center of this ITI of great gravity, was also to create a network of enterprises, a cluster of businesses throughout the whole region that would utilize this new cultural product, this new cultural route, and also to create a stable structure for the future that will govern and manage this cultural route. That was the forerunner of the regional DMO that we're now assuming. So the challenges, one of the big challenges was also to coordinate the businesses, the enterprises, to form this cluster, to cooperate among them, because here we have different economic interests between small enterprises. And of course, in terms of implementation, I also have to mention the COVID pandemic that came when we were at the peak of our efforts, and essentially was a very strong stop. I think personally, I believe that this ITI as a first implementation was quite successful, and it served as a model of how cultural heritage can contribute not only to regional development, but also to the green transitioning. And during this period now, 2021, 2027, we are continuing this strategy, and we are expanding it to another 3 mountainous areas, exploring more into the alternative tourism that the whole region can provide, and link tourism and agriculture, that are the 2 main keys of our area.
Okay.
I think
thank you.
I was
sorry, I have the impression to interrupt you, but
I know, but I think I was okay.
for your colleagues. So thank you very much. You have broadly explained that the collaboration between the different levels, from top down or bottom up, from national to local, is key in the implementation of the ITI in Epirus, in your region, but also I would say the cross-sector collaboration between tourism and production, let's say, it's also important. So it's about the key dimensions of the territorial instruments that you are talking about. So many thanks for your intervention. Without waiting, I will give the floor to Aquiles to present the Portuguese case on the implementation of an ITI in the framework of the collaboration of 2 regions in Portugal.
So hi everyone, please confirm that you all see already my presentation.
Yes, in full screen.
In full screen?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning. First of all, thank you for the invitation, for the opportunity to share the experience and the lessons learned by Algarve and the Alentejo regions in Portugal, in the implementation of integrated territorial investment. It's a new tool in 2030 period. We don't haven't a previous strategy in that theme. It's focused absolutely on water and landscape ecosystems, and they are jointly development for two regions with different classifications in the cohesion policy. Algarve, it's a transition region, and Alentejo, it's a less development region. We are in the south of Portugal, and our intervention area covers 17 municipalities in two different regions, as I tell, with a target population of over 100,000 inhabitants. The allocation we have for the ITI, it's over 52 million euros from both programs, regional programs of Algarve and Alentejo, and we cover different policy objectives in PO1, PO2, and PO5 in a comprehensive way. We are facing a thematic ITI, as I said, completely focused on the environmental issues and mainly on water themes and landscape ecosystems. If only two indicators to contextualize you, if you look to the map of your left side, you could see the water storage in dams, and you look at the south, where Alentejo and Algarve, we are facing actually serious problems with water availability, which in the south is very worrying. You see the red one, it's in the Algarve, and actually only we have availability for example, in one dam of 15% of the availability. On the right side, you could see the heredity index that was intensified in recent decades with a very pronounced progression of the desert from the south to the north. It's only two examples to contextualize you about the environmental issues we face in our territory: water scarcity, drought periods, the population too, and aging, and obviously unemployment and economic problems in that way too. If you look, it was the roadmap of our action plan, actually, structuring projects that results through a highly participatory process, both in the strategic process and in the action plan too. We define a set of structuring projects with different initiatives and actions, more than 200, as you could see in the columns on the right side. And all these intentions, indicative in the initiatives and the actions, came from different potential beneficiaries, municipalities, academy, science centers, LAGs too, and citizens that participate in a very wide form in our sessions to create the action plan. We held 7 sessions in rural communities, bringing together more than 300 people and join 123 entities. It's a very wide participatory process. For the governance of this ITI, we defined two different bodies: the Coordination Commission, led by the 2 Coordination Commission for Regional Development in the Algarve and in the Alentejo. They are responsible to manage the cohesion funds at the regional level, and an advisory council with representatives from sectorial administration, from water sector, from the environmental sector, for civil protection too, and obviously the communities of municipalities and so on, the associations of local development that are responsible to manage the lags in our regions. Additionally, an observatory was still to monitor, but still actually under development to monitor the implementation of our action plan. From the journey already undertaken, some lessons learned stand out, and I want to underline in the few minutes three kinds of dimensions. One dimension on environmental issues, when we could underline the that when we work together with different regions, with different administrations, we need to know that it's a Lapalis true, but problems and solutions have no administrative boundaries. So we should work together to realize and to concrete our action in our territories. Other side, the climate change is an evidence, and intensity, severity, and durability of risks and threats are present in our lives and in our communities and territories. Water availability limits all dimensions of development and impacts seriously and social and economic issues too. We are trying to create and to look for our territory as a lab, and from the problems and the threats we have, we try to behind process of entrepreneurial discovery process, discover new solutions and new approach to solve that problems and to create new solutions. And we find, it's a surprise to us, we find very relevant critical mass in the ITA teams in this territory, and it's an amazing experience to concrete, to implement it, to design this strategy. On governance, for other contributes from the lessons learned, we must do a high-level sectorial coordination and a multi-level coordination. As you understand, if you understand, when we work in two different regions, we have to have the support of national level, and we work very closely to the cohesion territorial ministry, to agriculture ministry, and environment ministry too, but so on to the regional and local administrations and citizen civil society. It's a great compliance with the principle of the partnership. You could see in the participatory sessions we made it, and this kind of involvement of the actors should be continuously on all phases of implementation of in the other stage of the implementation of our action plan. So combine this kind of coordination and cooperation, we have a strong commitment of decision makers, stakeholders, and population to the rural and environmental challenges. At least for rural communities, some insights. We are facing territories that have a successive loss dynamics on people, on capacity of an agriculture, on water availability. So something has to change. And so there was a great compliance to everyone to walk this way and make different than we make until now. Local place-based expertise and the know-how can inform action, and we find very expertise in our territory to support the decisions and to attract and develop new innovative solutions to the teams of ITI addressing the environmental issues. For other side, experience and work tradition of the LEGs, we have great tradition of working together, the regional administration with the LEGs in our territory, and they are the drivers to work together with the communities because they have the experience, the proximity, and they still maintain the trust near the communities. The other side, great rooting of citizen movement and NGOs. It was a surprise to us too, because they have a great capacity to mobilize human, technical, and financial resources. And you have to combine maybe with the opportunities of funding in cohesion policy, in our case on European Regional Development Fund. And finally, we need to look, and we look in our action plan, the sustainability not only as a goal, but as a process in any kind of decision process and decision making in any kind of the way we want to walk. At least from strategy to the action plan, only to share with you our strategies, and you could consult and reading. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Aquiles. It was very interesting to listen to this experience, which shows several, I would say, ingredients for the success of ITI, also between two regions, also this vertical coordination, as you mentioned here, the implication of stakeholders. I mean, your last slide is it's a very good synthesis on how this ITI has, and also the link with the subject that we have discussed this morning. So many thanks. So thank you for that. I will give the floor now to Marco to present the, I would say, the initiative of the ITI in the Piemonte.
Yeah.
We have still another presentation after, and then we would like to sum up, but do not hesitate to put any, I would say, reflections in the chat, even if we are not discussing them, but it's important to share. We will share the chat between the participants anyway afterwards as well.
Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm Marco Fiore, PhD student at Politecnico di Torino and at the Interdisciplinary Research Center of FUL. And today my presentation will focus on the use of the integrated territorial investment in rural areas, with a specific focus at the Piemonte region in Italy. Many Italian regions have employed the use of ITI as tools to implement the national strategies for inner areas. The so-called SNAI as still is the innovative national policy aimed to foster territorial development and social cohesion. And this policy targets areas suffering from marginalization and demographic decline, particularly in remote parts of the country. The inner area, often in mountainous and rural regions, highlight the close relation and connection between ITI and rural policy implementation. And the collaboration between the SNAI and local action group has been crucial in many regions. From a geographical point of view, on average, there is a 91% overlap in the territories that targeted both SNAI and LAGs at the national level. And in some regions, mostly in the north of Italy, like Veneto, Friuli Venezia Giulia, Emilia Romagna, in Liguria, this overlap reached 100%. So this alignment highlights the importance of coordination strategies for effective rural development. Now, if we put more emphasis on the convergence of these strategies and the levers integrated between the ITI that support the national strategies of inner area and the LAGs, we can, and from the analysis of the various local development plans of the LAGs and the SNAI area strategies, it emerged that 74% of the Italian inner areas have planned to integrate certain objectives, policies, and action with the LAGs. The 14% of the SNAI strategies refer to the integration to implement action in line with the strategies and objectives set by the LAGs. But however, 12% of the SNAI area show no integration at all with the LAGs strategies. And almost now you can see in the design of the alpine areas, but in general in Italy, almost all Italian regions have made provision for collaboration between these local development policies. Unlike the region of Lombardy, we decided to make no provision for collaboration with local LAGs. To make this more tangible for today, let me present the case studies of the Maira and Grana Valley in Piedmont region. These valleys were selected as one of the 72 pilot areas for the SNAI strategies in 2014 and supported by an ITI instrument. And in the same region, it exists the LAGs Tradizione Terrocitane that cover territories across 74 municipalities. But in these case studies, despite ITI and LAG strategies being in place, there has been no formal collaboration between them in the territories. And this lack of coordination exemplifies some areas challenging in integrating multiple policies, framework, and strategies. And so, in conclusion, based on the finding presented today, I'd like to share a few conclusion remarks and recommendations. First of all, it's essential to redefine the areas of intervention based on the programming tools of the leader approach, so ensuring that the strategies are better tailored to local needs. Second, a better synchronization of the SNAI and the ETI that support the SNAI and the leader programming timelines is crucial to maximize the impact of both. And so the structure coordination mechanism should be activated between the different governance levels in central, regional, and local one to ensure all strategies that work toward common goals. Additionally, in Italy, we have some important problems to use the multi-fund LAGs. Most of them are mono-fund. And finally, promoting shared local partnership between the two strategies would foster greater collaboration, ensuring that policies are aligned and more effectively implemented. And thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Marco. Very, very interesting to see this articulation, complementarity between the two approaches, let's say the ITI and the LAG, and also the idea. One of the ideas, because you brought several ideas, but this multi-funded approach of the LAGs that we are going to listen just after you now, but a lot of elements that are in relation with, we have not presented so much today, the Rural Pact, but the Rural Pact is supporting the cooperation between the different actors, combining the different funding sources to support the rural areas. I think that we have seen good examples which are, I would say, going in this direction. So I'm sure that the Rural Pact can contribute to this, I would say, better articulation between the cohesion policies and the rural areas. So thank you so much. And we are going to now listen to Markéta, who will present a multi-funded approach of a LAG in Czechia on the green education. So you have the floor, Markéta.
Okay, good afternoon.
We should stop at 15, and then I give the floor to my colleague, and we will share what we have collected, which will serve of synthesis of the session. So if there are things that you want to put in the chat, I'm repeating myself, so do not hesitate.
Okay, good afternoon. Our LAG is in the Czech Republic, in the Central Europe. As you can see, our whole country is covered by local action group, as it was seen in the presentation you have seen before. Our local action group is in the central Bohemian region, 40 kilometers from the capital of Prague. We have now 32 municipalities in our LAG and around 32,000 of inhabitants. We have got 47 partners and around 3 million euro for the period 21 plus. And what is great, we do have a multi-fund. And now in a concrete projects, I will show you how we combine all the source of money in our activities. We have this social education and also environmental projects or activities financed through this multi-fund. We are close to Prague, but in our region, there are not many opportunities for people who are disadvantaged at labor market. So we decided as a local action group to employ long-term unemployed people and to make a team of workers. And we use them for cleaning, cutting grass, pruning, and also sustainable forestry in municipality forests. So they help our villages to maintain their public spaces, to do the forestry, and we also give them all the support they need: professional social consulting, psychological support, debt consulting, and also food aid. This project is financed through ESF Plus, and as I said before, we are focused on sustainable forestry in municipal forests. The part linked to the education, our local action group, after our experience with strategic planning, was chosen in a region to create development strategy of local education. So we gather local needs, prepare projects that we can then finance through our strategy. We use regional development fund for investments at schools. And also we as a local action group provide forest pedagogy linked to the municipality forest and to the work we do with the long-term unemployed people there. And we have a morning and also afternoon programs where we teach children and also show adults how to maintain sustainable forests, including beekeeping. This project is also financed through ESF Plus, and we also use local funds to these activities. And how we combine it with agricultural fund. We are now building a nature trail in that municipality forest, which will be created by children participating in forest pedagogy. Children will monitor activities through all season in the forest and place messages on the boards we are planning to build to tell what is happening actually, what they have already done in the forest, and they will send messages to other groups how they all are working on our sustainable forest. We also want to bring families, so we are building a shelter with a fireplace too, so that families can spend some time there too. The project was supported by our local action group. Beneficiary is the municipality of Malá Hraštice, where the forest is located, and the project is now under construction. And this specific part of our bigger project is financed through agricultural fund. And lesson learned. CLLD is a great tool when you can combine investments and non-investment activities. It really brings great effect in rural development when you can combine all types of activities and make really functional projects focus on different target groups. Local focus is very practical in concrete activities you can do for improving the environment. We also support municipalities in tree planting in and around our villages. Rural-urban linkages are necessary to make efficient plans to manage climate change, especially when you have, for example, a big river on your territory, which is our case. We do have a big river of Vltava. It is the biggest river in our country, and we have to plan in a broader context with cooperation of other municipalities and also the capital of Prague. And I think local action groups are ready to put a hand in adaptation to the climate change because they know the place and local people. And what we have already learned is that it is necessary to start with children because they tell the adults, and of course, it is their future. So this is my message from the Czech Republic. Thank you for your attention.